Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Dungeons and Dopamine.
Welcome to episode 32 of Dungeons and Dopamine. This is Bree.
I'm Jess.
And we are here in the new year to bring you some dopamine.
New year, new me.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
1,000,000,000% still same me.
We're too old for that.
Oh, for real. And too tired in general.
Yeah.
Can you believe we're at 32 episodes?
No. I did not expect it to make two. Wow. Those are words. They're not in the right order, but they were words.
You tried.
That is the goal for this year, is to try.
I mean, I can get behind it.
Mm-hmm. We will actually talk in future episodes about New Year's resolutions.
Ooh.
I mean, not before people would actually be making those or like during the time, but after, because ADHD. And that's what we do.
I don't have anything to say about resolutions.
I don't blame you. I don't recommend them, personally.
I don't recommend that. I don't recommend resolving anything.
Everything should be left wide open.
I have like nothing exciting. We had Christmas. It was great.
Good.
We relaxed and...
Did you have a calmer Christmas as well?
I did.
That was actually a resolution I followed through on. Was
Nice.
to have a calmer holiday season.
I like it. Kudos. We found that the simpler we make everything, we're still just as happy. Like at the end of the day, we still just like think back on what a good Christmas we had. But we
Don't cry beforehand?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We like our old Christmas Eve plans can't happen anymore. So we decided to start like just our tiny little family tradition.
Mm-hmm.
We watched movies and we made really good Carly's favorite food in the entire world is salmon. Not chocolate.
I am not surprised, and I love her so much.
And she eats it like a fiend. But anyway, so we make a big salmon dinner, and then we watch movies. And this year we watched The Grinch, and so we made...
Which version of The Grinch?
So it turned out that we watched the OG cartoon Grinch.
Like from 1965?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes. Carly did want to watch the other cartoon, but we also decided we wanted to go see the lights, just drive around and see the lights. And that we kind of explained to her that the Grinch was always going to be there. We could watch it any day, even on Christmas. And the lights were going to go away. So, but yeah, we made like Grinch shakes. So we made mint chocolate chip shakes and we put chocolate whipped cream on them and then Oreos and worms, gummy worms, of course. And and then we made brownies in the morning and decorated them like Christmas trees.
Awesome.
And that was our Christmas Eve, and it was amazing.
We had a very similar Christmas Eve. We had my mom over, which was perfect because it's just her. And we watched movies all day, but we watched like the Santa Claus, the old Tim Allen Santa Claus, and we watched the 1965 Garfield Christmas instead of the Grinch. And then we had dinner, but we had take and bake pizza from a local restaurant. And then my mom went home and we went to look at Christmas lights.
Yeah. We probably drove past you guys.
We probably did. And it was fantastic. It was low stress. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
I highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm. We accomplished a few things for Christmas on Christmas Eve, and I wrapped up presents because I went so low-key this year. Well, and part of it is the construction and everything else that we're doing. But I went so low-key this year that I didn't even try. Like, I didn't even stop to wrap presents. I had a few minutes here and there where I was like, maybe I should wrap presents. Or I could read this book.
Or I could spend all day reading.
I had a little bit of time last night. So I got a heated blanket. And when Bed Bath & Beyond went out of business, I got one of those like butterfly boyfriend pillow things.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like torso of a person.
Yeah, and you can lean against it.
Yeah.
It's got like the armrests.
Yes, and it's made by UGG.
Oh. Oh.
And it heats up.
What?
Yep.
Oh, I hate you. Why didn't you buy
amazing.
7?
What?
Why didn't you buy 7?
I did, but you can't have any of that.
I have one in every room of the house just in case.
It's amazing. So I hiked the heat up on that thing. This was after we'd gone to my parents and had Christmas, and then we had Christmas at home. I just sat up against my little warmy, fluffy pillow thing with my Sherpa blanket and finished the sequel to The Fourth Wing.
Oh my gosh. I would have just fallen asleep is the problem.
I basically did. But the book I was really close to the end, and it was one of those, like, I can't stop. The problem I had was that Carly kept talking to me, and I was, like, having a crisis.
You're like, I can't be frustrated with her. It's not fair, but oh my gosh.
You need to stop talking to me. But we made it through, and I cried, and then I went to bed.
Perfect.
So there were tears on Christmas. They weren't the happy kind. They weren't the sad kind. They were the book kind.
Which is kind of a happy, sad cry in general, usually.
They were emotionally scarring tears.
Oh, so yeah. I won't be reading that book. Just kidding. I 100% will read that book. Have you watched the new Percy Jackson on
No,
Disney?
I haven't watched it. Is it good?
It's coming out episode by episode, which you know I hate.
Yeah, that's painful.
But even Connor's in love with it.
Really?
And
I'll try to get Carly to watch.
It's very well done. I haven't read Percy Jackson in a long time.
Same. So, I feel like we've grown out of it just a little. It's going to be harder for us to relate to it.
It feels like Harry Potter to me at this point. Like, going back to the first years of Harry Potter are very uncomfortable because they're 11 and I don't care about them anymore.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do that because Percy's a little older. But also, I don't know, it's really well done.
Okay.
I was very impressed.
Because they kind of butchered the story in the movies.
And maybe I'm far enough removed that I don't remember enough to care if the storylines get messed up a little bit. But I don't know, Zach seemed kind of impressed. And he's a little pickier about that and apparently has a better memory than me. So
apparently has better.
Maybe. I don't know.
Speaking of books, by the way, you have your librarian chic look down, and it's so cute.
Thanks. I'm trying to get used to the glasses. I went to the eye doctor finally, and these are not my everyday glasses now, but I am waiting to get my everyday glasses that will come in sometime this week because my eyes were all jacked up as I thought was happening. And when I did ask my optometrist about the binocular vision dysfunction, she literally laughed at me and was like, well, yeah, that's what you've had since like 5 years ago or more. And I was like, oh, I kind of remembered something about that, but I couldn't be sure. And she was like, oh yeah, like we figured that out a while ago. And I laughed and I told her that I had been researching it and about the boutique specialty offices and how I was afraid I was going to have to drive to Detroit. And she laughed and she was like, I mean, some people might be far enough off that they need like vision therapy and I have to send them away to a specialist for that. But no, you just need these glasses. Oh, okay. So probably I'm not going to have migraines, or at least not as many migraines.
Good.
And
the blurries?
And the blurries. She said I'll be able to drive again at night without like starbursts and blinding reflections. It's fine.
It's going to be life-changing for you. You did mention that in your text to me, but you also couldn't read anything that
I had never had an eye exam where my eyes were dilated before.
I think I've only had one, and I was too little to drive myself.
Probably when you first got glasses.
Yeah.
And mine have always been such a small problem that I never had to have my eyes dilated. But because of the migraines and the other issues, she wanted to do the full exam. So I was not expecting my eyes to be dilated. I think it's a really good sales technique of hers because she dilated my eyes and then sent me out to pick out my frames while I waited for them to fully dilate.
Read the price tags.
I could not see. By the end of it, I couldn't even see the details of the glasses. I had to rely on the girl helping me to assure me that they looked okay.
So you have to trust that who was helping you, that it doesn't say like hot mama across the frames
Right.
or something. So do you know who else wears glasses?
The dog man of Michigan.
Absolutely.
I was going to talk about ADHD and New Year's resolutions, and I still will, but I'm going to talk about them late because why not?
Sure.
I mean, it'll be about the time we're all giving up on New Year's resolutions anyway. But while I was researching New Year's resolutions, I had to take a break to research New Year's Day. Because why do we have a whole day dedicated to like New Year, New Me? And has this always been a thing? Or is this like
That's
a
fair.
European thing or an American thing? And so here we are.
Here we are. Nothing has ever made more sense than that in this moment.
Right. I just like to explain my thought process behind everything so people can follow along on my tangent attacks. So most of this comes from history.com, which is a great website because it very well summarizes everything so I don't have to. But basically, the month January itself actually comes from the very old Roman calendar, which was one of the original calendars and how they told time. And it was named for the Roman god Janus or Januarius.
Sorry, when you say Janus, I just think of
Friends.
Yep.
Chandler.
Oh my god. It's
Yes.
the new year.
It's a whole month dedicated to Janus.
By the way, my Janice impression is horrible.
Mine too.
I need more like blood nose.
Yeah,
and
that Boston nasally mess. Anyway,
Sorry.
Januarius or Janus is the god of doorways and or new beginnings.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
there is a part of this holiday that actually does date back to the beginning. Like even some of the research I did talked about like the Mesopotamian area.
In the beginning.
In the beginning, there was new beginnings.
Dogman of Michigan.
And then, so our current calendar, which is the Gregorian calendar, is very closely based on the Julian calendar, which was created by Julius Caesar in 46 BC. And it specifically said he consulted his most prominent astronomers and mathematicians of his time. Which again astounds me that way back then they had astronomers and mathematicians that could like understand mathematically that the seasons follow, I don't know how many days in a year, all of that stuff. And but Caesar was the one that decided that January 1st should be the first day of the new year, at least in the cultures that follow that calendar. And he decided that to honor the month's namesake, Janus, the Roman god, because his two faces allowed him to look back into the past and forward into the future. Not every culture or country celebrates New Year's Day on January 1st. Even our New Year's Day has been moved around a bit by, and this was the website's words, Christian leaders at that time. Because it was kind of a pagan holiday when it first started. It was very ritualistic and feasts and celebrations because new beginnings. All the sacrifices. So they, at one time it was moved to Christmas, December 25th, for obvious reasons. And March 25th, which is like the feast of, I don't know, I'm sure it has something to do with Easter.
Oh, sure. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
And then Pope Gregory VIII in 1582 moved it back to January 1st, which is the day we still celebrate it on. Other cultures have all different reasons and days for how they choose their New Year's Day. Some of them use the lunar calendar, equinoxes, solstices. A lot of it is based around, the first full moon after this day, and it can it's all different times of the year. It could be spring. There's some in the fall, in the winter solstice. But I thought it was interesting that of all the cultures, nearly all of them have a New Year's Day or a New Year's time, and they all celebrate in pretty similar ways.
It's really funny that Christian leaders for a while controlled it, because it doesn't connotate Christianity or church in any way to me.
Right. That's
so
like...
that really surprises me that that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody that celebrates New Year's Day religiously.
No.
It's always been... So I was very surprised to see that it was across cultures and across religions, and that there are religious connotations to it, because it's definitely not around here.
We've always celebrated like with our families and you know, get together or movies, or I had family that had birthdays.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
And the other weird part, a lot of like all of the cultures saw it as a day you should not work. And it is like across all the cultures, it is a day that is typically a religious or a bank holiday. Things are closed, nobody works. And it dates back to the belief that whatever you do on New Year's Day is what your oncoming year will look like. So if you spend your day slaving over the, coal at work back in the day, then your year will be horrible, because that's what you set yourself up for. And it's all... In most of the cultures and many of the celebrations, it was like big celebrations, big feasts, big, the toasts, the celebrations, the countdowns. Some of them had multi-day festivals, which again, I feel like we're really getting left behind here on the holidays.
Seriously,
choosing in the United States.
We should make this a week. Yeah. And
in between
none of it should be
Christmas
working.
and New Year's should just be everybody's off, a 7-day festival of Christmas and New Year. And in the beginning, it used to be like New Year's Day cards, or Christmas cards actually started as New Year's cards. You'd send out cards to wish everybody good luck in the upcoming year, or update everybody on how the year had been for you.
Don't mess this one up.
You have a new chance. Be careful. It was about forgiveness and rebirth, and just looking forward to the next year and what it could bring for you. Fireworks is really common through all the cultures, and then just some different traditions and different things that they do in other countries. Obviously, in the United States, we typically watch a ball drop, which apparently comes from some old sea navigating equipment. They used to tell time by throwing a ball into the water and seeing where it was on the horizon. And I guess midnight must be when it's lowest. I don't know. But that tradition actually comes from sea navigating. We toast at midnight typically, which is a very old tradition, because people have always loved toasting to good health or good luck. Even the Christian church or the Catholic church has always, not always, but started including wine into a lot of their celebrations because of the blood of Christ. And then we added in, like, you try to kiss someone at midnight, which is another old custom from various cultures back in the day.
I think we had to stop doing that for COVID.
That's outlawed. No kissing at midnight. And then in the United States, unless you belong to one of these religious churches that actually does New Year's Day stuff, which again I've never really heard of. It's kind of like you said, a family holiday or a relaxing day. Maybe you're getting ready for the upcoming week, or some people like put their Christmas decorations away and clean their house as like having a fresh start. But it's just kind of a calm hangout day.
Yeah.
But in other cultures, not only are there the New Year's Eve festivals and the New Year's Eve celebrations and the toasts, but apparently there's like a New Year's song. It started as a Scottish tradition. And if you listen to it, you probably recommend it. But again, it's not something that's ever been told to me as a New Year's song. It's the Auld Lang Syne. I don't know, maybe
I can't sing it, but
pigeon.
I think I have like do 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 do.
Yeah, that one. That's the one.
That makes me think of Forrest Gump.
I was like, maybe Argyle Pigeons can throw that in there. I don't know.
I mean, it's better than me going doo 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 doo.
No, that's perfect. You know how much I like your singing on our podcast. In Denmark, they smash plates or unused or unneeded dishes.
Do they write on it?
Probably.
Because I just saw someone. No, this is so weird that you say that, because last night I was watching a TikTok and it was somebody who wrote the things that they were getting rid of from the last year on a plate, and then they took it out and smashed it. Now, at the time, all I thought was, like, I hope they clean that up, because they smashed it out, like, on the cement outside. What if a kid walks through there?
Right? Logical worries.
Putting my like, mom brain away, that's so freaking weird that you would say that maybe it was someone from Denmark.
Well, this one talked more about, like, they would go smash things on their friends' doors, like their outside doors, for good luck. Like, they were wishing luck to their friends. But I think that tradition would be better. I would rather put, like, my worries or things I'm trying to get rid of and smash those.
Yes. And plus, please don't smash stuff on my door, okay?
Right?
Like, doors, for one, are really expensive. And for two, one of my doors is glass. And for three, what if a kid walks out my door with their shoes on?
And there's all that broken glass and dishes now.
You could have donated those to Goodwill.
Well, in Turkey, they do the same thing, but with pomegranates instead of dishes.
Oh, that's acceptable. But please don't throw pomegranates at my house either.
Because it would stain.
Exactly. I just have to go clean it off the window.
I did like that for the pomegranate, like, if you threw it hard enough and the seeds explode out, like, the number of seeds that explodes out is proportional to the amount of good luck you'll have in the next year.
Okay.
But again, I mean, maybe we find, like, maybe we start a rage room, except it's like the New Year's Day luck room, and we just have things that people can break.
We could run a special.
Yeah. But again, don't go do this to your friend's
Please
door.
don't throw anything in my house, please. Unless it's money. And then you could just leave it in an envelope on the porch.
You don't have to throw it at all.
You could even say hi if you're bringing me money.
You could stop by.
I'm in.
We could be friends. A few cultures use water. So in some of them, they throw water out the window, like getting rid of the bad juju.
Okay, sure.
In one culture, they actually, I think it was Thailand, it's good luck to pour water over your friend's head. So I would not be able to live there because my skin is crawling at, like, the sensory overload of being worried that my friends are going to pour water over my head at any minute on New Year's Day. So I'm glad I don't live there.
Let's avoid that one as well. Is there one where you just, like,
drink good water, like,
or
cheers?
Send your friend a bouquet or something?
Just call them and hey, I hope your New Year goes well. The Buddhist culture has a whole water festival over their New Year's
like
time.
Water slides?
Obviously. I'm sure that's exactly what it is.
Such a rager at the water park. I could get behind that one.
We could start that. We're gonna have to move New Year's Day though to, like, August, so it's warm enough.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely fair. Mid New Year. Let's just call it the mid New Year celebration.
Absolutely. I'll get on it.
I'm in.
In Ecuador, they burn scarecrows or other dolls that represent demons.
Okay,
so they're getting
burning is more of what, like, I think of to get rid of the bad.
Mm-hmm. That's instead of, like, pouring water on people, I would rather, set something on fire. Have a bonfire.
Write a letter or something to someone I'm upset with, and then, like, let it go by putting it in the fire.
See, that sounds
more cleansing than pouring water over my friend's head or throwing a plate at your door.
Exactly.
I'd probably hit your dog.
Not to mention how much they would bark.
No, exactly. It'd be a mess. And you couldn't let them run out the door because of their feet, and I had just thrown broken glass at your home.
You're really just destroying the earth.
Look, I don't know why you decided to talk about this, because I obviously cannot get over it. This is a problem for me.
Here's another good one. In Spain, they try to eat 12 grapes in 12 seconds, or one grape for each chime of the midnight chimes, which sounded fine until you read that Facebook story about the child that chokes on a whole grape. And now all I can think about is choking on grapes as you're trying to scarf down 12 of them in 12 seconds for good luck.
Yeah, like, if I could eat them leisurely
Right.
with a cup of water after I burnt my anger
Can I cut
letter
them in half?
Oh my gosh.
In the Finnish culture, they melt small bits of tin and then cast it in water and try to read the shapes that form.
Okay.
So
okay.
if it forms into an animal, you'll have abundant food for the year. If it's a heart, you'll find love that year. The picture they used looked like they were just burning something in a spoon, so I was a little worried. But it turns out it's just tin. It's
Maybe
fine.
if they do the cocaine first, then tin looks more like an animal.
That's how you interpret it. In Germany, they eat pig-shaped sweets because pigs symbolize wealth and abundance.
Look, I can get behind that. Like, you bring me a piggy-shaped cupcake or just a Reich's cake that is shaped like a pig, and I'm in.
Exactly.
I'll even try to eat it in 12 seconds.
Again, way better than throwing dishes at my door.
Or pouring water over someone's head. Yeah.
Some easy ones, some cultures, I think Brazil just tries to dress in all white.
Okay.
And some people use sparklers instead of like setting fires, which is really how I want to celebrate New Year's Day from now on.
Yep.
Just a whole day of sparklers. One culture, you have to run around like a block or your house with an open suitcase because that will bring you travel in your new year.
Like, I'm not on board with anything that is running. Okay, like, I'm already out.
Vetoed.
Maybe if I bought like a new scooter for Christmas. This is a Segway. We are better than Segways. So
True.
Maybe we could.
I feel like we'll just have to temper these traditions a little bit. And
Yeah.
we're going to have a great new year next year.
Hold my suitcase, ride my Segway around the country block.
While you're like leisurely eating grapes and you have
And pig-shaped
sparklers.
cupcakes. Yes, sparklers on my Segway. I'm in.
So next year for New Year's Day, there will be a Dungeons and Dopamine party.
Yes. Expect great things.
Details to be determined. And that's it. That's all I got.
I love it. I love all the different, like, as much as I'm kidding around, I love all the different traditions. And I'm sure that if you lived there, those traditions wouldn't seem as unusual. And perhaps they have special things that help with doors and stuff.
Maybe their doors are better built.
Hey, yeah, or they use those protective plastic things at the bottom and
They're
that's where
like,
you aim. Or
hey, go put the plywood on the door today before everybody comes to throw their dishes at it tomorrow.
they just,
Remember not to use the front door, you guys. You might get hit with some pottery.
and wherever the water goes over the head, maybe it's very warm at that time of year, so it's really refreshing. And I like to think the best. Or maybe everyone there is dirty and it's soapy water.
That is great. See? I appreciate your optimistic thoughts on these traditions. I'm glad I brought these problems to you.
And I really am sorry if I'm offending anyone who actually
Yes.
follows any of these traditions.
Please don't take this as any...
This is satire.
Yes. We are not trying to offend your culture. We're just trying to understand it more.
Yeah. Which I do think is really cool that there are so many different traditions and that it's seeped so kind of deeply in this. It's really neat. And now I'm just going to knock everybody down a couple notches.
I love it when you bring us into the scary stuff.
You know, I don't want anybody to have too much joy. It
This
sets
is
you
really
up
for everyone's
for
good.
eventual, like, come down from the joy.
It's true.
So if I just do it right now.
We don't want to overload anybody on dopamine.
Absolutely not. Unless you like missing people stories. Which I'm not going to lie, half of the people who are listening right now do.
No, yeah.
And that is going to give them dopamine for sure.
See, we're really just equal opportunity dopamine dealers.
Exactly. I like that we're dopamine dealers.
I'm going to put that on my next, name tag that
Yeah.
I never wear.
Yeah. We should put it on, like, our Facebook as our titles. Dopamine dealers.
Mm-hmm. That won't get us flagged for anything.
Not at all. Or, like, creepy people coming to our door, but not to throw plates at it.
Right?
I'd like some of what you're dealing. Oh my gosh, did you know about Susan Walsh, the missing person?
Woohoo!
So, you'll never believe what I'm going to talk about right now. Susan Walsh, the missing person.
What?
I know, shock. So, I decided to do missing people, obviously, and chose some of the more recent people. So I want to do this as respectfully as I can, because this person knew people, whether she's alive still or not, we don't know. But she still has family who are, and I don't want to misspeak or misrepresent anything, but this is all stuff that I've, of course, found on the internet, so there is a chance that I am going to misspeak. So if you know and you're listening, please let me know. I'll correct it. So, Susan Walsh was born Susan Young in New Jersey in 1960. She was raised in a broken home, but she spent a lot of her time dreaming of being a writer, and she was very interested in poetry. Her friends and family described her as really talented and someone who, as she grew older, wanted justice for people who couldn't necessarily speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. And one of those kinds of people that you just fell in love with when you spoke to her. So, she sounds like someone I would want to know.
Right.
She went to William Patterson University and was employed by the paper. She also occasionally worked as an exotic dancer to help with paying for college. So, she met Mark Walsh while she was in college. He is actually the brother of Joe Walsh, who is a musician in the Eagles.
I was like, don't I recognize that last name? Like, have I already heard this story?
You may have. It was a very popular story. But they had a son in 1985, and I know that you could go Google it and find out his name very easily, but I'm not going to mention it.
I appreciate that.
His piece. It is said that she struggled with substance abuse up until 1985, but she got sober. I would assume because she had a son and was getting married. So
because she was happy.
Yeah. So she graduated with a BA in 1988 and started working as a freelance writer. She was acclaimed for her work. She did a really big piece exposing the Russian mob within a strip club. They were bringing immigrants over and then trafficking them and using them as go-go dancers and exotic dancers. So that's a pretty big deal. She was able to succeed so much on that story because she worked there. And she knew these women. She worked alongside of them, and they were more willing to speak with her because she wasn't just some random journalist. She was a part of them. She knew the struggles. She knew their day-to-day. Her journalist friends called her an incredibly reliable writer, and some said that she would even dive really deeply into her assignments. So 1 month before her disappearance, Susan was seen at a publisher's party, but she had bandaged wrists. And when someone asked about it, she told them that it was self-inflicted and that she had also thought about taking tranquilizers, but that she knew to get help if it went too far. Like if she felt like she was going to end herself.
Unalive.
Yes, unalive herself. A few weeks before she disappeared, she spoke with her half-brother. It was a half-brother through her father. He recalled the conversation later on and said that it was really weird. He said that she was talking about a trip to Las Vegas. She was talking about working on a case with the government, like a story or case. And that after she just kind of rambled on a little bit, she said she wanted to let him go to watch Roseanne.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is the 90s, so
yeah,
legit.
I mean, you couldn't stream it back then. You had to watch it at a specific time.
You did. You had to watch it. Like, kids these days will never know. Anyway, before I turn off anyone who's younger than us that is actually listening.
Kids these days.
Those kids. Get off my lawn. But she did call him back after the show was over, and they continued their conversation, but he said it was just as, I wrote the word discombobulated. He did not say that word, but
I wish he had.
I feel like that gets across the point. It was just as discombobulated as the first conversation. And after they talked a little bit, once again, she just very abruptly said she had to go. And he said He hung up the phone, and after thinking about it, he felt really exasperated with the whole call. So, 2 days before her disappearance, she recorded a segment for a documentary about sex work and strip clubs for a friend of hers. Her friend, last name Morley, said that Walsh had been compelling, articulate, and intelligent during the documentary interview, but she had seen some troubling signs. She said that Walsh had admitted during the interview to drinking again. So 11 years of sobriety, and now she was drinking again. And then her beeper went off, her pager. Fun. We're really throwing it back there. Her beeper had gone off, and she made a joke about, oh, that must be my stalker. Morley was quoted as saying, I knew she wasn't in good shape when I saw her. Susan did talk about a few other health interviews.
She really liked those interviews about her health.
Oh. Just count to 3 and move on. She did also talk about other health issues that the job of exotic dancing had caused her. She said that the job had caused her some serious physical illness, including bronchitis, emphysema, and stomach ulcers, and that she had been hospitalized twice from the issues that it would cause. I would assume a lot
from the smoke?
Smoking would be my guess. Yeah. Because, well, as we know, you could smoke back in the 90s. I remember coming home from the bowling alley smelling like cigarettes.
Yep.
So, she was also, and this was sort of vague, and I didn't see this in a lot of articles, but she was also working with the BBC to do an interview for a German documentary on sex work. So she was really into this. She was really out there. She wasn't ashamed of what she was doing or what she had learned. She did, I guess I kind of buried this in here, but she did actually go back to exotic dancing after writing just wasn't paying the bills well enough. But in the year 1996, she lived in an apartment with her son. She and her husband were estranged, but he actually did live in the apartment below so that they could co-parent their child. So on July 17th of 1996, Susan brought her son to Mark and said she needed to run a couple errands and make a call at a nearby payphone. She told him she estimated she'd be gone about 30 minutes. And that was the last time she was seen. So I mean, know.
So 96. So everybody had a house phone.
Yeah,
Did
I would
it
assume
strike
so.
the husband as weird that she had to run errands and go use a payphone?
No, it seemed like that was pretty normal. I don't know if they had financial issues that wouldn't afford to allow them to leave their line on.
Maybe that, yeah.
Or if maybe the apartment was just, not great. Maybe it was one house and the phones were down in his apartment. I don't know the situation. That's a great question. It's something I thought of as well because no, cell phones weren't the norm, of course. They would have been those big, bulky.
But it was hot. Like, you had to go find the payphone and get the number and then give it to the person. And,
Yeah.
And it cost you $0.25 to use it.
Exactly. Here's $0.25. Call someone who cares. So that was the last time she was ever seen again. One thing to note immediately that's really strange is that Mark actually never saw her leave the house, and no one saw her on the payphone. A page of her diary, one article said diary, one said like a planner or calendar.
Okay.
So I think they're kind of combining those.
Right.
One article might have said diary for the theatrical effect of it.
But it wasn't like a locked diary hidden between her mattresses.
No.
Okay.
But it was missing a full page, and it was thought to be her schedule or her plans for that day or that week or whatnot. She did not bring her wallet or her pager with her that day, so it indicates that she probably didn't have any plans of going anywhere but that phone.
Right. Because if she was running errands, she would need probably money,
probably a
or
wallet,
at least driver's license or ID.
I mean, cigarettes, if you were going to grab those or something. I mean, very strange. She had not packed anything, nor tied up any loose ends that you would think someone who might need to run away, wanted to start a new life, would tie up or was going to end their life. it was none of those signs. So, first things first, the main suspect, Mark.
Of course.
Because he's the husband, ex-husband, estranged husband, whatever was happening exactly then. Police managed to rule him out as a subject. He was originally incredibly easy to work with the police. He would allow them to do what they needed to do. He was very forthcoming. After a while of this becoming really sensational, he stopped being so cooperative. Some people speculate it was because he wanted to protect his kid.
Well, and they were accusing him of murder, so.
Yeah. But they did rule him out, and he was the one to report her missing that day. Mm-hmm. There are some sources that say Susan felt threatened by the Russian mob because of the articles she had written about them. Mm-hmm. There were no ties correlating between the two of them besides that article.
Well, no, they were calling her on a cell phone, or on a payphone.
Exactly. She admitted to some friends that she felt like she had been being followed, and she believed that 2 contracts were taken out for her death, but it's unclear how she would have gotten that information. Right. Her father said he noticed the same thing, that she was really paranoid, and he was quoted directly saying she was coming apart at the seams. So this is when they think she had started drinking again, when all the mob stuff started to happen. So a little bit before her disappearance. It said at that point, too, she also increased her Xanax prescription.
Oh, man.
And, yeah, we'll get into that. She was also said to be researching, and this is something I might have to myself research, the underground vampire culture that was big in New York City.
Okay. Yes, please research that. I would like to know more, please. And then we'll have to go back to do some research.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Oh, we would have been getting ready to go right now.
I know. Like, if this was a year ago, that's all we would have talked about.
Anyway, okay. Rewind. So, she reportedly started doing this article after a tip came into the newspaper she was freelancing with that blood was going missing from a local hospital. And she became really taken with the culture. And her article ended up being unpublished because she was so taken that she lost objectivity. So, it's also said she dated at least one guy who claimed to be a vampire.
Whoa.
Yeah. So again, her friends thought she had fallen off the wagon after 11 years of sobriety. Once the mob stuff came in, this is all rehashing what I've said. It's also said, and this was only in one article that I found, that she had stopped taking her medication for her bipolar disorder. But no other articles mentioned the bipolar disorder. So I don't know if this is something someone pulled out of the air or if this is something others kept. I mean, nowadays people I feel like we're trying to be more respectful. It's what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. So maybe they didn't bring it up because it didn't feel important. But bipolar disorder and medications are a huge thing if you stop. Those medications are incredibly strong. Well,
and if she had at the same time increased her Xanax dosage, like Xanax will erase your memory just completely. It's terrible. Like, I still can't believe how freely it was prescribed with the effects of that drug. It's insane.
I don't know a lot about it, to be honest. I know some crappy people take it. So yeah, anything where she was messing with her medications, even if it was, I mean, I put quotes around just Xanax. But even if it was just Xanax, that's still rough. Like, you still have to be so careful. And especially if you're drinking all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. So, and this is all speculation. We can't know because we can't ask Susan what she was doing. So, 1 month after the disappearance, one of her friends swears that she saw Susan getting into a car with an unknown man. The friend did grab the plate number and got it to the police. The police found the guy, showed him pictures of Susan, and he said, yes, I might have been with her that night. So it sounds like maybe a drunken, like, fling or a hookup or a bender, or maybe she flagged him down, got in his car, and drove away with him, and he just drove her somewhere.
Right, just has to be dropped off somewhere.
Unfortunately, nothing ended up coming of that, and when the friend saw her, she yelled for her, but the person didn't look back. So it might have been a case of a very similar person.
A doppelganger, and if you weren't right up close.
That's it. Like, nothing ever came to light about any of this. This is where it's left off. In the year 2000, her half-brother, I might have said stepbrother earlier. He was her half brother with her, like, from her dad.
I think you said that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. He sued the Nutley Police Department. By the way, they lived in a place called Nutley.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Of course.
He sued the police department because his father had hired a PI originally, and the PI had taken his findings to the police. So he was suing for all that information. He wanted all of the information that they had on Susan. He and Susan had started building a really close relationship when she disappeared. Mm-hmm. She even encouraged him to come out, which was a really big deal in the 90s. Right. It was 1995 when she convinced him to do that, which is brave and huge in the 95, in the 90s at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, her father passed away, so he will never see any ending to this.
Gosh, that's awful.
Yep, it's so sad. And her brother maintains that she never would have run off, which is what the police ended up ultimately decided happened, is that she left to start a new life to protect her family from the mob.
And I mean, that's what you want to believe, right? That she took it upon herself to get out before anything bad happened, and she's like living her dream life in Jamaica or something.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, so there's no physical evidence of her being taken.
Right.
There's no physical evidence that she even left her apartment, which is terrifying.
Right?
And I mean, the 90s wasn't that long ago, so I don't think we had like DNA evidence so much or it wasn't widely used.
Right.
But I mean, we weren't just using like ink pots and dusting brushes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and one thing that I don't think I saw in my notes, but there's no recorded phone call going out from a payphone from that day in their area. So she never did make it to the phone. You'd think apparently the phone was not too far away from their home. So she had stepped out and was abducted by someone in a violent fashion. Her husband would have heard her screaming or
somebody nearby.
Yeah, it's very, very wild.
Very wild.
These stories are very compelling, but because of them and the way they make me kind of feel on the inside, I decided that I was going to follow up each 3 of these with some tips on safety.
Yes.
These ones are your personal, all the time safety. The first one is really important, especially for women, because we are not taught this. We are taught the opposite. Instinct over politeness.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You don't have to be nice to someone. You do not have to give someone your number. If someone is bothering you or you literally just feel threatened by someone, your instinct sees something. Your innards, your body, your brain is noticing something. I always call it your caveman brain. Mm-hmm. That part of your brain that works without you even realizing it's happening. The one that says, breathe in,
danger,
breathe out.
Danger, danger, danger.
That is screaming because it has noticed something that you haven't picked up yet. But you're right. And even if you're not right, it's not worth it to make that dude, girl, person feel special that you smiled at them.
Exactly.
Walk away. Tell someone you're uncomfortable.
Scream if you have to.
Yep.
Yell.
Act like
draw
I've
attention
seen
to
some
yourself.
Funny stuff where they act like maniacs.
Yeah.
And go do it.
Yep.
It does not matter. Your life is more important than their comfort.
It doesn't matter if they seem like a nice person or they haven't done anything to justify that yet. If you feel off and they're doing anything that makes it seem like you're not going to be able to get away or they're trying to get you alone or whatever.
Anything.
Be weird.
Anyway, okay. So, I got to get through this list. Consider self-defense classes, of course. That's something you're going to hear over and over. Show some restraint on your social media. I feel like it's a little different from us as we are older, but no one needs to know if you're heading to the grocery store. No one needs to know if your husband is leaving for a vacation.
Or if you're leaving for vacation.
Yep. No one needs to know that you got a new front door with a new fancy lock, because then they have time to research that lock before they visit your home. Think of making your friends and family aware if you're going to be doing something alone. Hey, Mom, I am going to be heading to blah, blah, blah. If I don't let you know that I've been there, give me a call. If I don't answer, call the police.
Yep.
This is especially important if you're meeting someone on a date.
Or so I do this when I exercise at home because I live in a rural area and I like to ride my bike. So I take the same path every time, which drives my husband crazy because he thinks if somebody learns it, they could follow me, which is true.
Excuse me.
But since I'm by myself, I do the same route so that the people that I let know that I'm out know where my route is.
Yes.
I text a picture of it to them. I tell them when I'm leaving, that I should be back in a half hour, that I am depending on, like, very specific. I am depending on you. Nobody else is home. My mom is busy. So
you're my person today.
You're my person today.
Yep.
If I don't text you in 35 minutes, call the cops. Or call me.
Yes.
And if I don't answer, call the cops.
I am thinking of setting up, my next one is tracking apps or like your family plan, find my phone kind of thing. I'm seriously considering setting that up for my whole family and maybe even a couple friends or extended family because it's important they know where I'm at. If I get lost or if something happens, they could find me. So set boundaries. Set boundaries with strangers. Set boundaries with family. Set boundaries with friends who you can't trust necessarily. Set boundaries for your children. Set boundaries for yourself, your home. Silly as it is at the grocery store when you're putting your groceries in your car. Put a physical boundary. Put that cart between you and the car. Tools for protection. Pepper spray. Sounds stupid, but brass knuckles. They sell so much cute stuff now. They're lipsticks that are actually knives.
I think brass knuckles are actually illegal in Michigan.
So don't have brass knuckles in Muskegon. Get those kitty ones that look like a cat keychain, but you could actually...
Or even, we were taught pretty early putting keys between your fingers.
Yes.
And, pointy side out.
And make noise.
Yeah.
Make all the noise.
Whistles. Loud keys.
People don't want you to make noise. They plan on you being quiet. Keep your hands as clear as possible if you're heading to the car, say with groceries. You would rather lose, I know it's horrifying, that $200 cart full of groceries than your life. Ask for help. Don't ever not ask the cashier to walk you out to your car because you feel stupid. It doesn't matter what they think if your life is on the line.
And especially like the bigger grocery stores probably have security. And they will be happy to walk you out. Or even if it's a small grocery store, they, you're probably not the first person to ask. And there's nothing to feel silly about.
Felt like that guy in the store has been watching your kid. Ask for someone to shop with you or leave. Finish your shopping later.
And have someone walk you out.
Because it's not worth your life. And that is the end of my soapbox rant. I'm not saying that I haven't done several of these on my own.
Right.
I am really bad for the polite one.
Me
Because
too.
I want to be polite. I want people to feel comfortable around me. And I'm horrible at it. And as women, that's what we're trained to. Smile, sweetie. You'll be so much prettier.
I'm going to start doing that when people say that to me.
And that is the end of my my rant, as well as my very interesting Susan Walsh. And I hope she's out there living her best life.
I hope so too.
And I hope that her family has some peace in their hearts. And
that would be the worst part, not knowing.
I didn't want to share her child's name because if it just doesn't seem right. He's not a child anymore. He's our age.
Right, yeah.
But anyway, so be safe. And we have to end the podcast, so I have to find the podcast ending. Why didn't I put this on a poster?
When are we going to follow through with that? My
Never.
computer shut down, so I got to wait for my computer to start back up. So
this has been Dungeons and Dopamine Podcast.
And people can listen to us anywhere. Yeah.
They can.
And people can... And people can listen to us anywhere they stream podcasts and on YouTube.
You can support us on Patreon, www.patreon.com/ Dungeons Dopamine.
We can also be found on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit, amazingly.
Yay! You can reach out to us on any of those social medias and also at our email, which is dungeonsdopamine@yahoo.com. Still would love to hear from you guys.
Yeah. Suggestions, if you have New Year's traditions that are different than anything we talked
if you
about.
pour water over someone's head or throw eggs or
Dishes at them.
pomegranates or toilet paper at your friends' houses.
We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
And Dungeons and Dopamine is edited and published by Argyle Pigeon Productions.
Thank you guys.
We
We
love
love you. Happy New Year. Bye.
All right, bye.